Okay, so it's from Jake Johnson, again, another member of the All-Star team, one of the best writers, and CommonDreams has, in my opinion, the best team of writers overall, top to bottom, in the business. It's close, and it's getting more and more competitive. Mint Press News does some awesome work. Consortium News does some awesome work. CommonDreams has a much larger staff, it feels like. And again, I can name 7, 8, 10 writers out of CommonDreams who are just top-notch. Jake Johnson is one of the leaders of that, for sure. So, report rings alarm over private equity's grip on home health and hospice industries. And I don't think this is any surprise to anybody who's been watching here, who's been paying attention on the left. But I love that they're calling it out and they're writing an article that everybody can really read and understand. Let me see if I can blow this up a little bit more for you.
There you go.
Here you go. So, private equity is buying up companies, right? Extracting as much possible as profit as possible, and often with disastrous consequences. So in recent years, according to a new report, PE firms have increasingly sunk their teeth into the fast-growing home healthcare and hospice industries because the parasites need to profit off of grandma and grandpa and the growing baby boomer generation that is now coming to retirement and needing all kinds of home health services. So,
and this is something I'm going through personally. My grandmother is going through this personally right now.
I think everybody, just about everybody, either knows somebody or is related to somebody who is going through it right now. Okay? Due to increased demand, stable Medicare, Medicaid reimbursement schemes, home health care and hospice services have increasingly been provided by for-profit companies provided by PE stakeholder project. As for for-profit home health care and hospice companies have become more profitable, PE firms have turned to them as reliable sources of revenue in the healthcare sector. Right. So very, very benevolent. Unfortunately, they've been linked to lower standards of care compared to their nonprofit counterparts, including but not limited to lower number of visits to patients by healthcare professionals in their final days of hospice, higher rates of hospitalization in home health care, and poorly paid yet highly stressed employees in both sectors. I don't think this is a surprise to anyone. We covered the Wisconsin healthcare system, and those are actually not-for-profit hospitals where they actually stopped employees for one day from going to the other hospital for a better job because it would have meant that the trauma, they would have lost their status as a level 1 trauma center, which would have hurt their community. So a judge actually stopped them from going to the other hospital. Reef and I covered that a few weeks ago. It's pretty amazing. It happened. It was resolved within a weekend. So it happened on Friday, and then by midday Monday, they were able to go to their new jobs. But the fact that a judge was able to stop somebody from privately going from one hospital to another is insane.
I hope my mascara is waterproof because this one is
a
big one.
Yeah. So again, private equity investments in nursing homes has come under scrutiny again. And I think that David Sirota, the Daily Poster, did some amazing work in exposing what happened with Andrew Cuomo in the nursing homes in New York and talking about the immunity waiver that they had built in for the COVID stuff. And initially that immunity waiver, the model and template for that was when COVID first hit in New York nursing homes that are run by private equity firms, they pushed that through and made sure that they had liability immunity from being charged with anybody's death due to COVID and exposing them to COVID. Yeah, here. How many grandmothers and grandfathers died because profits were prized above lives with our taxpayer dollars funding this? And he's right. Bill Pascrell, who is one of my local reps, he's not my local, my representative, but I think he represents somebody I'm related to's district. Analysts have suggested a growing mistrust of nursing homes, right? All right, so what we're looking at is home-based healthcare, where you've got family taking care because the people that work there, while they're doing all they can, they are overstressed, and they've cut the number of beds. They doubled the number of beds that each person has to operate and to look after. And you push the bell and you push the bell and nobody can come because there's nobody monitoring the nurse's station because they're already taking care of somebody else because they have too many patients to look after. And
Yeah.
why?
My aunt works at a nursing home. At a nursing home.
And a lot of this is going towards private equity profits, and it's an even less regulated space because it's private. All right, the nursing homes, but this home health care, home health, at home hospice, and now again, private equity is starting to dip into this division and provide nurses and aides. And again, they're going to understaff them. They're going to overwork them. And unfortunately, the money and the power that they have, and that's what's been happening. You see BlackRock and you see Vanguard. These are the two largest hedge funds that have been buying up a lot of these companies. Then you have KKR, Kohlberg, Kravis, and Reigns, I think it's called. I think it's the name of it. But you've got these massive hedge funds again. So here, right for the taking, hospice payments. Medicare accounts for 85.4%, Medicaid for 5%, managed care or private insurance 6.9% in hospice payments. So you've got a large private insurance, managed care, private insurance. That's 7% of the puzzle alone. That's tons of money. And then others, including charity and self-pay, is only 3%. But you've got, again, hospice payments are mostly coming from Medicare. So they know that the government, Medicare, is a reliable payee or a payor. So they want to get into wherever you can get Medicare and then bill the government for whatever they can at Medicare rates because it's profitable. And they figured out a way to make it profitable because they squeeze the workers. They squeeze the salaries. They squeeze more people into more beds. And then what they do is they don't even offer full-time work to a lot of these nurses so they don't have to pay benefits. And the nurses are paying for their own health care, and they can't even go to the hospitals that they work at.
That is terrible.
Right?
It's disgusting. I mean,
what did I just say?
It's literally disgusting. People can get away with this.
KKR, right? So here's Bright Spring, which is a client hit her head twice before dying in 2016. Once when a wheelchair wasn't properly secured in her company van, and another time days later when she fell out getting out of bed due to lacking rails, which she required given the damage sustained from a stroke. And it's because not enough people are paying attention. Not everyone has a patient advocate. Not everyone has a family member that's fighting every day for them. And God bless the people who are those patient advocates, because without a squeaky wheel, unfortunately, sadly, a lot of these people are treated horribly. And it's, live your whole life to be treated like dirt and end up poor and giving all your money toward these private equity firms to have. I mean, some of these facilities, $8,000-$10,000 a month in my area for managed care live-ins. And again, and they're paying it. So
it took all of my grandmother's money, all of it. All of my mom's money. And it still wasn't enough. She had to finally get Medicaid to have them take care of her.
Yeah. My mother-in-law is on Medicaid as well because she's worked her whole life and had no, her savings completely gone and no retirement, and she's living off Social Security and her health care needs to be, she's on Medicare and Medicaid and look at this. Blackstone submitted false claims to state Medicaid programs for non-invasive ventilators that patients didn't use or were not medically necessary. How much did they make there? Right? APRI is engaged in a practice known as dividend recapitalization, which is used by private equity companies to enrich investors at the expense of underlying businesses. And look at how much they paid its owners and investors and executives. $460 million paying out by taking on $400 million of new debt. Now, this is something that we've seen private equity firms do for decades now. Capitalism literally killing. That's right, Frankie Lee. Thank you. But there's actually a movie called Barbarians at the Gate, and it's about the first leveraged buyout that happened and about these private equity firms and how they got started. And what they do is they buy a company like what Eddie Lampier did with Toys R Us, for example, or Sears. I'm sorry, Sears and Kmart. So what Sears and Kmart did, Sears bought out Kmart and then decided to sell it to a private equity firm who then loaded it up with a ton of debt, hundreds of millions of dollars. They paid out the private equity firm in consulting fees and management fees, hundreds of millions of dollars. And in the end, the company went out of business. The pension fund got looted and the employees were left holding the bag. It happened at Toys R Us. It happened at Sears Kmart. It's happened over and over and over again over time. And this is one of the things that these leveraged buyout parasites do. Private equity. And now they're doing it to the home health industry. So
sorry guys, this is hitting a bit close to home. Okay. So
I'm sorry for
no, it needs to be discussed. It's important.
Yep.
It's very important.
So what they're talking about is transparency laws, strengthening transparency laws requiring changes in ownership, control of home health care and hospice companies to be reported to federal government. So a lot of times when they buy it, you don't even know that they got acquired by a hedge fund. And all of a sudden you just start seeing services cut and hours cut and people start getting let go and replaced with lower wage people. And all of a sudden your culture's gone and changes almost overnight. And we've seen that happen too. So he also recommends prohibiting or limiting dividend recapitalization, of course, strengthening regulatory oversight. So these are some of the things that we can do to private equity to stop them from doing this. Of course, Elizabeth Warren held hearings, reintroduced new legislation titled the Stop Wall Street Looting Act to combat private equity. But of course, we know that most of Congress is bought and owned by private equity. So that's really window dressing going nowhere and designed as a campaign slogan.
More lip service.
Thanks, Liz. That's not very nice. Wait, was that a snake noise, Liz? For Liz? What?
I didn't do it.
Yeah, we didn't do that.